Welcome, friends. Namaste. Please join me. Come on to hands and knees. Tabletop with the fingers spread out wide. Press into the fingerprints. Shift the shoulders forward and back. Keep the elbows straight. Keep the points of the elbows dialed back towards the thighs. Then steer your fingertips over to face the sides of the mat. Rock yourself side to side. Push the back of the heart to the ceiling and feel the ribs hug in. And then maybe you dial the fingertips back towards the knees, rocking the weight forward. That's the easy part as you rock the weight back. Let the heels of the palms come off the ground, stretching out the flexors and the fingers. Rock it forward again. And then rock it back, heels come off the ground. Third and final time, rock it forward, but this time as you rock back, see if it's possible to leave the heels on the ground. You might not get as far back. From there, let's just neutralize tabletop, shoulders over the wrists. On an inhale, drop the belly, gaze forward, gaze up through the eyebrows. Exhale, coil into the spine, look back towards your navel. Inhale again into cow spine, gaze forward, gaze up, shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, coil it back all the way into Uddiyana Bandha. Third and final time, inhale. And exhale, drawing it back. Neutralize your tabletop. Get your hands to face forward. Step your feet back into a plank pose. Let's take 5 breaths here. So please don't just hold this shape up. Push away from the ground like you're trying to get as far away from the ground as you possibly can. Elbows are straight, elbows are dialed back, and I'm breathing. 3. Listen for Ujjayi sound. 1 more time. Then slowly lower your knees to the mat. Move the hips directly over the knees. Leave them there. Walk your hands forward. Forehead taps to the earth. This is Anahatasana, heart-opening pose. I've got my elbows lifted. I'm trying to relax onto the tops of my feet. Maybe putting a little pressure towards the pinky edges of my feet back behind me. On your next breath in, let's come forward onto our bellies, forehead to the ground, hands beneath the shoulders. On an inhale, cobra pose. You don't have to stay low, but do make sure that your pelvis stays on the ground. So cobra pose doesn't necessarily mean baby cobra pose. Then let's tuck the toes, lift the hips back, downward facing dog. On your next breath in, ripple the shoulders over the wrists into a plank pose. This time, let's bend the knees and swoop your hips back into downward facing dog. Taking that again, inhale, ripple forward. Exhale, drawing it back. Third time, inhale, ripple forward. Exhale, draw it back. Bring your big toes to touch the back of the mat. Float the right leg up into the sky. Then go ahead and draw the knee into the chest, shoulders over the fingertips, hollow the chest, dome the upper back. Sweep the leg back, inhale, dog split. Exhale, take it in again, squeezing in. 1 more time, inhale, send it back. Exhale, squeeze it in. And then send it back, this time simply lowering into downward facing dog. Step your feet hips width apart. Take a breath in. With your exhale, start to walk your hands to your feet at the back of the mat. Just take a ragdoll here. Maybe grab for opposite elbows. Sway yourself side to side. A couple bounces up and down through the middle. And then let your fingertips drip back down onto the ground. Tent the fingers, take a halfway lift. Then move the left hand directly under your face. Fingertips are palm. Right arm reaches up. Right leg straightens. Try not to support too much of the weight in that bottom hand. Rather than engage your core. Look up towards your top thumb. Breathe in. Long exhale out. Lower the top hand down, both fingers sets on the earth. Take another halfway lift. Move the right hand under the face, sweep the left arm to the sky, left leg straightens. We're gazing up, we're pushing into the earth with that foot, the right hand is light, and we emphasize the exhale into the twist. Take it here, and then go ahead and lower that top hand down. Forward fold. Step your feet as wide as the mat. Tent the fingers about a foot forward and then rock back onto your heels, peeling 10 toes up off the ground, entire bottom of the foot. Bow your ears between the arms. Then put the feet back down, plant the palms, try to push into strong arms to lift the heels high. Then give your feet a chug forward to the outsides of your hands, just a little baby hop. We'll do that again, tent the fingers, rock back into the heels, bow the head. And then planting the feet, plant the palms, lift the heels high, chug the feet forward. One more time, tent the fingers, rock back. Keep breathing, relax jaw, plant the hands, tip the toes, feet float forward. Step your feet underneath you into forward fold, hips width apart is cool. Take a halfway lift up. Step back into a plank pose. From plank, we'll lower through Chaturanga Dandasana, halfway forward into a push-up. Upward facing dog now. The thighs stay off the ground, just hands and feet, please. And then tucking the toes or rolling the feet, downward facing dog. 3 breaths here. Inhale, 3. 2. And 1. Bring your big toes to touch. Float the left leg to the sky. Dog split. Draw the knee into the chest. Shoulders over the fingertips. Send the leg back. Inhale. Exhale. Squeeze it in. Number 2. One more time. Send it back. Squeeze it in. And then send it back again, but this time lowering feet hips width apart, down dog. Take a breath. Exhale, walk your hands back into forward fold. Hang heavy. We'll just leave the hands on the ground. Tent the fingers, rise up, halfway lift. This time move the right hand under the face, left hand to the sky. Either stay here or thread that arm in between the legs, reaching the hands to the outside of your right butt cheek. Maybe your peace fingers wrap, or maybe it's hand to wrist for our bind. Now feet stay parallel to the long edges of the mat. I'm going to do my best to gradually straighten through the legs, increasing the stretch on that right shoulder. I'll look over to the left side wall and then pull my head as far away from the hips as I can, but keeping the hips parallel to one another. One more breath here. And then go ahead and release that. Hands to the ground, bow the head. Round 2, side 2, tent the fingers, lift up halfway. Left hand under face, right arm reaches up. This is cool, hang here or thread the left arm through, reaching the hands around the outside of your left butt cheek. The knees can bend to at least get started. Actually, they can stay bent, but if you want to gradually straighten through the legs, try to bring your legs to even, so your upper body's going to pull to the left a little bit. Then look over to the right side wall. Lengthen from the tailbone to the crown of your head. Feel that right shoulder blade pulling on to the back. One more breath here. Strong legs. And then release that back down, forward fold, ragdoll, maybe the palms on the ground. Round 2 of our press walks. Step your feet as wide as the mat. We'll just go right through these. Tent the fingers, rock back. Exhale, rock forward, plant the hands, lift the heels, and hop. Tent the fingers, rock back, lift the toes. Exhale, plant the palms, lift the booty high, float the feet. Last time, tent fingers out in front, rock back. Exhale, plant hands, heels high. Chug your feet forward. Step your feet underneath you, please. Forward fold, palms to mat, face to shins. Pull the belly in super duper tight. And then let's come up to stand nice and slowly all the way up to the top. When you get to the top, just shrug your shoulders up to the ears, roll them down the back. And you can go the other way on that too. Find ourselves in Samasti Tihi, even stance pose. Feel the tripods of the feet pushing into the ground as you lengthen the top of your head skyward. Shoulders stay soft, heart stays lifted. All right, next breath in, arms up, reach high, gaze up towards the palms. Exhale, dive it down, forward fold. Palms to mat, face to shins. Then tent the fingers, lift up halfway. Step the right foot back, lower the knee, untuck the toes. Take the arms up, interlace the fingers, allow your pointers to point, gaze up to the thumbs. Deepen into the lunge, press into the top of the back foot, hips melt towards the ground, and as you look up, maybe you trace your fingers a little further back on the ceiling. Take your hands to the ground, step back into downward facing dog. Inhale, come forward to plank pose. Let's take a Chaturanga Dandasana, lowering halfway forward. Flipping on to the tops of the feet, heart peels forward and through, gaze up. Roll the toes or flip the feet, downward facing dog. Inhale, let's go right dog split. Maybe bend the knee, open the hip. Draw the leg straight again, and then step it inside of your right thumb. Back heel anchors to 45 degrees, deepen into the front knee, maybe a 90-degree bend there. Sweep the arms up. Warrior one, keep the ribs hugging in. Take the hands behind the back, interlace the fingers, punch the knuckles to the ground, squeeze the heels of the palms, and then gaze up, puff out the chest. Start to forward fold the upper body onto that front thigh. The head will hinge, you'll gaze at the trailing ankle. Or if you want to, tuck the shoulder inside of the knee. You'll get a lot deeper into that right hip. Try to keep the hips squaring to the front wall. Don't collapse the right butt cheek way off to the side. And then relaxing the face, try to pull your hands high up and over the head to increase the stretch within the shoulder joint. Take another breath here, and then slowly float your hands to frame the front foot. Bring the back foot in about 12 inches or so. Anchor the heel again at 45 degrees. Tent the fingers, straighten through the front leg. Breathe the spine long into a half lift. Then exhale, bowing it down. Maybe the palms to the ground, maybe the nose to the knee. Take a second, push into the big toe mound of your front foot. And feel that right hip pulling back and underneath you just a bit. When you exhale, exhale to hollow the belly away from the thigh. You don't lift the torso, you just hollow the belly. And then when you exhale, you're able to surrender a little more deeply into this hamstring stretch. Next breath in, bend the front knee. Step your back foot forward, feet together, please. You might need to back up a little bit. Take a halfway lift up, lengthen through. With your exhale, forward fold. Let's bend the knees. Take the arms up into Utkatasana, fierce pose. Draw your hands to your heart. We'll breathe in and then twist to the right. So we're just twisting that left elbow to the outside of the thigh, pressing palm to palm, really wringing out your guts. Maybe the heart lines up with the thumbs. Look over your top shoulder and feel that shoulder blade hugging on to the back. All right, look straight down, pop the heels, plant the hands just off to the right, hands about shoulder width apart as you plant the palms. Teeter the weight forward and to the right to send that right leg to the outside of that tricep. I'm looking over to my left side wall, into my side crow, squeezing my heels towards my butt. Maybe you want to try to straighten the legs out into two-legged, extended side crow, or scissoring the top leg back, trying to take your Ekapada Kundanyasana with the twist, so that's Kundi 1. Wherever you're at, the breath is smooth. You're right in the fire, but you're finding your calm. All right, let's lower it down. Forward fold at the front of the mat, please. Hanging heavy. Maybe make two tight fists with the hands. Circle out the wrists. Let the head drop completely. Switch directions on that rotation. And then hang it all heavy, fingertips to the mat. Belly pulls in tight, come on up to stand, one vertebra at a time. And then pause at the top, just taking a brief pause in this lunar space after we just kind of dance through the fire a bit. We want to make sure we bring our counters back to zero. With your next inhale, arms up, reach high. Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, dive it down, forward fold. Uttanasana, palms to mat, face to shins. Take a halfway lift. And then stepping that left foot back. Lower the knee, untuck the toes, arms are up, interlace the hands, opposite clasp, deepen into the lunge, gaze up, trace the fingers a little further back on the ceiling. Hang for one more breath. Hands to the ground, step back, down dog. Inhale, take it forward to plank pose, Chaturanga Dandasana, four-limb staff pose. Upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Breathe a breath. And then here we go. Left leg lifts, send it high. Maybe you want to bend the knee and open the hip as you push your heart back. Keep the shoulders even. You can re-straighten through that top leg, and then we'll step it just inside of that left thumb. Back heel anchors down, 45. Arms are up, Vira 1. Square the hips forward. Keep the ribs pulling in. Hands behind the back, opposite clasp here. Knuckles down, heels of the palms squeeze, heart powering to the sky. Dive it forward, fold, shoulder on the thigh. Head hinges, you gaze back, you hang heavy, or you tuck shoulder inside of the thigh. And then pull the hands a little more aggressively, 3 breaths. Make sure to push into the pinky edge of that trailing foot. We don't want to collapse all the weight forward. Hands float to the ground. Back foot comes in about 12 inches. Heels again at 45 degrees. Front leg straightens, half lift. And then our pyramid pose. Bow the head, plant the palms. Hollow out the belly. Every exhale that you take allows for more surrender in the upper body. More surrender in the upper body means a more passive stretch to the backside body. Next breath, bend the front knee. Step forward, feet together. I'm going to back up a little bit, make some space between me and the front of the mat. Take a halfway up, lift. Exhale, forward fold. Bend the knees as you take the arms up, Utkatasana, fierce pose. Draw your hands down to your heart. We'll twist over to the left this time. Palm to palm, heart dials to the thumbs, looking over the top shoulder, allowing that left shoulder blade once again to pull down the back. Then looking down, popping the heels, planting the hands, teetering the weight forward and to the left to allow the heels to float towards the seat. I look right, stay here, or try to straighten your legs out. Stay here, or try to float that top leg back. Weight into the fingertips, find a little upward facing dog in the pose, so that lift to the heart. And then when you're ready, let's release it back down into forward fold. At the front of the mat, we could perhaps slide the palms facing up underneath the feet, clawing the toes into the wrists. Good stuff. Bend the elbows out, bow the head in. With the exhale, pull the belly in tight and traction the upper body over the thighs. 3 breaths here. 2. And 1. Carefully taking your hands out from underneath the feet. One more time, let's pull the belly in and roll up nice and slowly to stand into our mountain pose, Samastitihi. Pause here. Find that lunar space. All right, from the moon into the sun, Surya Namaskar A. Inhale, take your arms up and over your head. Exhale, dive it down, forward fold, palms to mat, face to shins. Halfway lift. Hands to the ground, maybe we're ready to hop back to chaturanga. Slow upward facing dog. A downward facing dog. We're gonna breathe here 5 breaths. Inhale 5. 4. 3. Are you hearing that breath too? Brings a calm to the soul. One last time. Okay, on your inhale, bring the feet slightly forward, big toes touch, shoulders over the wrists. Look between the hands, bend the knees, stay looking forward as you pull the hips back. Bottom of the exhale, give it a hop forward. Take a halfway lift. Exhale, release it, forward fold. Now let's reverse swan dive the arms high up and over your head into that up hands pose. Hands down by your side, samastitihi. Let's repeat that. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, dive it down. Halfway lift, prepare. Hands to the earth, strong arms, strong shoulders, feet might float back, chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. 5 breaths. Press into the fingerprints. Start to lighten up on the heels of the palms. Push the front of the mat away from you. Really sending your hip bones back. Pressing through the heels, the knees can stay bent. Okay, let's prepare again. Feet slightly forward, big toes touch, shoulders over the wrist, gaze forward. Bend the knees, pull back, stay looking forward, bottom of the breath. Step, hop, or float, halfway up when you arrive. Exhale, release. Belly in, arms up, sweep it high. Exhale, hands down by your side, mountain pose. 3rd round, arms up. Exhale, dive it down. Prepare. Vinyasa, chaturanga. Upward facing. Downward facing. 5, biceps spiral away from the ears. 4, stay rooted in that index knuckle mound. 3, grounding through the heels. 2, belly pushing actively towards the thighs to deepen at the hip folds. On your next breath in, prepare. Exhale, pull back, step, hop, or float, halfway lift. Full release. Arms all the way up. Hands down by your sides. Let's step our feet as wide as the mat. Turn the heels in, toes out. We're taking a Malasana Squat, bringing our hands to heart center, pushing palms against one another. Draw the chest forward, draw the thumbs back. Squeeze the knees together, but use the elbows to keep them in place. And then let's close the eyes. 3. Relax the back of the neck. 2. And 1. All right, we want to be super careful with this one. I'm going to start to work on my crow pose, facing forward crow pose. So planting the palms, feet are back a foot behind the wrist, knees are high, preferably into the armpits. And then I'm going to shift the weight forward, float one or both feet up into my Sukhasana pose. Now stay here, play here, right? Do what's manageable, but challenge yourself. We could perhaps carefully lower onto the crown of the head, no rush. From there, the legs could possibly float up into our Sukhasana, number 2 tripod headstand. Very careful here. Monitor the breath, guide it into that state of peace. And then maybe taking it back into crow pose. You want to use some of the momentum of the knees coming down to push away from the mat, to start to float away from the ground. Straighten through the elbows, draw the chest forward. When you're ready, Vinyasa. You can mosey on back to downward facing dog, or take that killer combo, chaturanga, upward facing, downward facing dog. Let's take 3 breaths here. We're tired, that's great. Last one, we got this, yogis. And then lower your knees to the mat. Maybe you want to sit upright on your shins like so, in Vajrasana. Hands to the thighs. Maybe you turn the palms to face up. Heart forward, shoulders back. Now let's really work to discipline the breath. We want to breathe in these short, choppy, panting breaths. Or let's say that's kind of our default. But really what we want to do is breathe into those long, slow, fluid breaths that not only slow the heartbeat, but also calm the mind. By the way, this is going really good. Let's slowly make our way back into downward facing dog. And then from downward facing dog, prepare to get to the front of the mat. No rush, step hop or even float. Halfway lift, full surrender down. Maybe exhale out the mouth. And then let's pull the belly in and roll up nice and slowly to stand. That lunar offering before we step into our last little bit of sun or maybe fire. Here we go. Let's just breathe. Find the mindset. This is going to be challenging. Not that everything up to this point hasn't been amazingly challenging. But we're going to start to work with balance. And it's so interesting how balance and fear are closely related. This fear that we might fall, we start to buy into it, and then we lose track of everything. You want to see the success in the breath, in the mind, and then we manifest it in the physical plane as well. All right, eyes open, arms up, bend the knees, sit low, Utkatasana. As you rise up, take the right knee with you, reach the hands in front of the shin, interlace the fingers, squeeze it in, and then get tall through the back side body. Open that knee off to the side, placing the sole of the foot onto the inner left thigh. Hands to heart center just for a pulse, and then reach the arms up. Maybe even you look up, but keep the ribs drawn in. Push through the standing heel and really extending through the fingertips. Figure 4 chair. So we're going to cross that ankle, take the hands to the heart, bring the elbows maybe to touch the shin, peel the right toenails back towards the knee, and then stick your butt back and draw your chest forward, and you really start to open up into those right gluteal muscles. Map out where your right pointer, middle, and thumb fingers are. Wrap them around the big toe of the cross leg. Now we're going to open up like a flower. As I kick that leg off to the side, I sweep the left hand out. Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana. Second variation. Lift the chest. From there, rebend the knee. We're going to pass the foot to the other hand. I'm going to grab onto the pinky edge of that foot. Start to really reach back with the right hand as I kick forward with that foot. And then maybe we gaze off to the side or even towards the back wall. All right, let's let that leg pendulum to the back of the mat. Slowly taking your right hand to the ground, left arm reaches up. This is revolved half moon pose. And yes, I am fully aware that that left leg is completely on fire. Let's bend the left knee a little bit, drop the right hip down, kick through the trailing heel, lift that back leg, not the hip, and then really reaching your left hand up. See if you can gaze towards your top fingers. All right, we're gonna step back as far as we possibly can, and then transferring the weight up and over to the back leg, Skandasana. I'm gonna turn my right toes out a little bit. Start to take that half squat, eagle wrap, left arm over right arm for the eagle wrap. Take a second here, stick your butt back, draw your chest forward. I'm gonna pass this to the other leg. So I'll open the arms out wide, transfer the weight to the left, eagle wrap, right over left. Stick your booty back, draw your chest forward. Even out the breath. Release your hands to the earth. Bring your feet to parallel, straighten through both legs. Nothing but wide forward fold here. Take a halfway lift. And then release forward folds. Line up your fingertips and toe tips from the front to the back of the mat. From there, bow the head, crown of the head to the earth. Maybe it touches. Careful now. And from here, maybe just pushing into the crown of the head and allowing the heels to lift, pressing into the fingerprints. Maybe the legs float up off of the ground into our, once again, Shirshasana number 2. So feel the inner thigh squeezing, the tailbone lengthening to the sky, releasing any collapse out of the lower back. Take another breath here. And then straddle out your legs, super duper wide. Pause at 90 degrees, kick through the heels. Allow the feet to float down slowly to the earth until heels land first. Hands below the shoulders. Take a halfway lift up, please. With your exhale, start to crawl your way to the front of the mat. Into a low lunge. We'll toe heel that left foot over to the outer edge of the mat, planting palms. Lower the back knee. So find a quality of upward facing dog here, drawing the chest forward. Or lower onto the elbows. It'll feel more like a sphinx pose or maybe that cobra pose, low cobra pose. You also have the option to reach your left hand back, grab onto the pinky edge of the foot behind you. Squeeze that heel towards the right glute. Left toes might want to dial out to the side. Let the back thigh, the right thigh, melt a little closer to the ground. And then we're going to look up to the ceiling and then really lengthening through the right side body. So from the back knee to the chest, I'm in that bit of a heart opener here. Close the eyes. Just see a big, beautiful light beaming out of your heart space. Relax the jaw, push into the right elbow or palm. If you're up on your palm, make sure that you're not collapsing into that shoulder. Perfect. Release the foot back down. Let's take a nice careful dog split, sending your left leg high and back. And then draw the knee into your left armpit. Maybe bend the elbow and hook the inner thigh on the back of the tricep. From there, you could float the front leg forward, which might teeter the weight into the fingertips, allowing the back leg to lift. Find that upward facing dog quality in the heart. Maybe a little smile on your face. Let's meet in down dog split if you've got it. And then to save time, let's just step that left foot to the front of the mat. Step the right foot forward as well. This is our resting pose. Forward fold ragdoll. Breathe in through the nose. Breathe out the mouth. Breathe in through the nose. Flutter out your lip. One more time, breathe in through the nose. Breathe out through the nose. Lunar entry to stand. Belly pulls in. Roll the spine. Here we are. Find that pause in neutrality. Acknowledging that balance is a moving target. Bend the knees. Take the arms up. Utkatasana. Fierce pose. As you stand, left knee draws up, reach the hands, interlace the fingers, squeeze that knee in. Open it off to the side, tree pose. Foot on the inner thigh, pulse the hands at the heart, and then reach the arms up, taking the gaze up, lifting the chest, but the ribs stay in. From here, figure 4 chair. Bend the knee, cross the ankle, hands to heart. Pull those left toenails back. That brings a better stretch to the outside of your left leg. heart forward, booty back. Identify left pointer, middle, and thumb fingers. Wrap the big toe. We're going to open it up into Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana. Kick that heel out. Right arm reaches out. Find the superhero in the heart. Drive through that standing heel. Bend the knee. Switch the foot. Right hand grabs. Left hand reaches back. Reach back powerfully. And you're able to kick forward a little more aggressively. We start looking towards that back wall. And then half moon revolves, pendulum the leg back. Left hand rainbows to the earth, right hand reaches up. Again, I always like to bend the standing knee. That's going to help me to drop that left hip. And then lifting everything up into the ground. The back leg, top arm, even the top of the head has a little bit of a lift and forward so that we're finding that beautiful extension from back heel to crown. Step as far back as you can. We're going to rainbow the arms up, transferring the weight to the back leg. Eagle wrap right over left. This is Skandasana, back knee bends. Take a breath in. Breathe it out. Release the hands. We switch sides. Eagle wrap, left over right. Take a breath in. Breathe it out. And gorgeous hands to the mat. Bring the feet to parallel. I'm going to hop my heels to the edge of the mat, which is behind me. From there, I'll tent the fingers out in front, rock back into the heels, and then maybe I want to peel all 10 toes up off the ground. We did this, it seems like forever ago, at the beginning opening sequence. From there, put the feet back down. Plant the hands underneath the shoulders. Straighten the elbows. Dial the elbow points between your legs. We're going to take a couple Froggy straddle hops. All we got to do is bend the knees. And then rather than thinking maybe about hopping up, try to really just powerfully kick the legs out. So I'm going to shift the weight forward, kick the legs out, let them land back down. Let's go on that again. Shift the weight forward, strong arms. Kick the legs out. Let it land one more time. Rock it forward, kick it out. And then lower it down. Forward fold, grab for opposite elbow, sway the upper body side to side. Flutter out your lip. Release your hands back down to the ground. Crawl your way forward to the front of the mat. And then boogie that right foot over. Lizard pose. Back knee is down, hands are down. Maybe you're down on elbows. We want to find that place where we really feel like we're close to the earth, allowing the earth to support us, especially as we're in the tail end of this practice, and we might be losing a little bit of steam. That's perfectly normal and natural. If you want the tail grab, let's do that. Reaching the right hand back, grab hold of the pinky edge of that back foot. Squeeze the heel in, the right toes can dial out, the knee can flare off to the side. Push into the left elbow, gaze up. Feel that arc from the back knee through the chest. 2 more here. Push into the left elbow, create a little space between shoulder and ear. Release the foot down. Come back up onto palms, lift the back knee up. Send the right leg directly back into dog split. And then finishing off, maybe strongly, maybe not, knee into the armpit. You could bend the elbows, hook the tricep, float the back leg, extend the right leg forward, look right, breathe in. Lift the chest, lift the leg. 2. And down dog, split. All right, we're going to just step that foot down this time. On your breath in, come forward to a plank pose. I dare you to take a Chaturanga Dandasana. Heart opens upward, facing dog. Exhale it back. Downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg lifts. Draw the shin to the front of the mat behind your wrists. Slide your left foot way back. Toes untuck. Peel the right toenails back towards the shin. Push into the top of the back foot. Fingertips are back by the hips. Heart is open. Gaze up. And then exhale. Let's take it down. Perhaps you lower onto your elbows. You can stack the back of your hands as a pillow for your forehead. Or if you want to extend the arms all the way out long in front of you, that's cool too. Let's breathe 5 breaths together. Inhale, reach fingers forward, reach tail back. Exhale, get heavy onto the ground. Inhale, push into the front leg, almost like you're trying to come up off the ground. And then relax it. Careful with the knee, though. No pain in the knee. Please take your time to walk your hands back up underneath the shoulders. I'm going to tuck this right heel a bit closer to my groin. Then shifting the weight to square in the hips. Tent the right hand out in front. Reach your left hand back. You could bend the back knee, grab hold of the big toe side of that foot behind you. Maybe move the palm onto the top of the foot, pressing into the instep to really send that left foot to the outside of the hip. Then foot can slide into the elbow crease. Maybe the right hand reaches behind the head, wrapping up your peace finger bind. Then just like our warrior ones, we want to feel the left hip drawing forward as the right hip draws back. Maybe scissor the thighs to lift up a little, and then exhale, see if you can melt down a little bit too. Breathing here too. And 1. Slowly release out of that. Don't slam your body parts down, please. Downward facing dog. Plant the palms. See if you can send the right leg back without dragging it on the mat. Bend the knee, open the hip. We could take a rock star, dropping the tippy toes over to that left edge. Right hand reaches forward. Shoulder stays over left wrist. Press into the fingerprints. And then really reach that right hip high. Gaze to the top hand. Reach the right arm up. Put it back down, dog split. Come forward to a 3-legged plank, chaturanga, 4-legged upward facing dog. And downward facing dog. On your in-breath, left dog split, send it up. Draw that shin forward, squeeze it behind the wrists. Right foot slides back, way back, and then untuck the toes. Walk the hands back. Peel the heart open, press into the top of the back foot, get the back knee light, opening up through that hip flexor, and then taking it back down. Start on elbows. Maybe you want to go deeper. Nice hand pillow. And maybe you want to go deeper. Reach the arms straight out in front. So inhale, get longer. Exhale, relax. 4. Are you hearing the breath? I mean yours, not mine. Last 2. Last 1. Let's walk the hands back, please. Move the left heel towards the groin. Tent left hand out in front. Shift the hips to parallel. Right hand reaching back. Grab the big toe side. Squeeze that foot to the outside of the seat. If you can, press onto the instep. This is like more than we need, so that as that foot floats back into the elbow, you've already gone beyond this. So you're like, no big deal. Left hand reaching back. Tuck behind the head. Grab your peace fingers. Scissor the hips. Right hip pulls forward. Left hip pulls back. Try to relax that left armpit, shoulder and armpit. I'm gazing out in front. Single point of focus. I'm intense. I'm not tense. Although tension will try to creep into the pose, and it's my job to be the tension police. And try to relax it where it doesn't belong. A bit of tension is good because it keeps us, from falling on our face, collapsing down. Here we go to release out. Take your time. Hand down, foot down. I'm not going to drag my left leg back. I'm going to lift it up and then send it back into dog split. Bend the knee, offer the hip up. You can rock star here, dropping toes over to the right. Sweeping that left hand forward, palm faces down. Shoulder over the wrist, I'm lifting my left hip, lifting it to the sky to open up through that side waist. Left arm reaches up. Hi-yah! Plant the hand. Leg is high, dog split. Last little vinyasa here. If you want it, we'll come forward to that three-legged plank. Lower three-legged chaturanga becomes four-legged upward facing dog as you release to the tops of the feet. Becomes the four-legged downward facing dog. On your inhale, come forward to plank. Exhale, lower onto hands and knees. We want to come to a seat with the feet out in front of you. I'm just going to cross my shins and rock back. You do you. Bring the bottoms of your feet together, knees wide. Pull your heels towards your groin. Sit up nice and tall. Your spine is the mast of a sailboat, a ship even, and then your upper body is the sail. The wind takes you from behind the heart, which draws your chest forward. From there, you can interlace the fingers, create a strap around the pinky edges of your feet, and then breathe into that sailboat, just opening forward, and then, in a good way, the mast tumbles down. Perhaps your heart touches your feet. If not, you can round in a little bit. But when you inhale, try to lengthen again so that somebody's pulling my head away from my seat. And that's me. I'm that person. Then bow it in again. Inhale, maybe you lift up and lengthen. It's not a terrible idea to always pulse through these shapes, although eventually, yes, the heart will be on the feet, the forehead will be on the earth, and then we don't really lift up anymore. We just try to lengthen the head and tailbone as far apart as we can. Let's come on back up. We're going to move the feet forward a bit. I'll say like 10 inches or so. And then in that same fashion, you can hold to the ankles. Find that heart wide open. And then this time we're going to bow our head. Maybe the forehead is lucky enough to find the arches of your stinky ass feet. Now, if it feels like your spine is rounding, you might move the feet a little bit forward. It did feel that way for me, because I am trying to get my spine as, we'll say, flat as possible. We always want some natural curves in the spine, but we say flat, and we kind of know what that means. Terasana. Let's take 3 more breaths here. Inhale. Exhale. I'm trying to kind of roll forward on my sit bones, bringing the front of my sit bones a little closer to the ground. We could call that anterior tilt of my pelvis. You can Google that when we're done. All right, rise up, please. Let's just take the legs completely straight out in front of us. Firm the thighs. Peel toenails back, bottoms of the feet parallel to the front edge of the mat. Arms up. You can walk your butt bones forward a little bit. That peels the extra meat out from underneath your seat. And then let's reach as far forward past the feet as we can. And maybe you grab onto your heels or any other arm variation that you may have. I'm going to try to keep straightening through my legs. So we often hear, bend the knees if you need to, and I agree, bend the knees if you need to, but occasionally try to straighten through your legs. They may not go completely straight, but I guarantee you'll start to tap into that stretch that we all want to avoid, right? We want to feel that stretch. So I actively try to push my heels forward, hollowing out the belly, feeling that upper body a little bit closer on every exhale to the ground. 3 breaths should do. 2. And 1. On your inhale, let's lift it up. Plant the hands, scoot the hips forward, bend the knees, plant the feet, reach your hands to the front of the mat, turn the palms to face up, and then nice and gradually rolling down onto your back. Try to go even speed the whole time. Go ahead and squeeze the knees into your belly. Create some compression on ascending colon, descending colon, right side to left side of your belly. From there, feet to the earth, hips width apart. Lift your hips up. Reach down. If you can't touch the heels, bring your heels a bit closer to your fingers. And then lift the hips up again, but maintain the knees right over the heels. We want your butt to squeeze, but we don't want it to squeeze so hard that the knees start opening apart. So you can interlace your fingers down below, walking your elbows and shoulders a bit closer together. Open up the pinky edges of your forearms to the earth and see if that push doesn't lift you up just that little bit higher. After a few more breaths, you can simply switch the clasping of your hands. Or if you'd like to come with me into upward facing bow pose, take your hands up by your ears, fingertips face the shoulders. Claw into the earth as you hug the elbows over wrists. Go ahead and breathe in, and then with your exhale, lift all the way up, nice and slowly, into the full expansion of our wheel pose. Adjust the hands and feet as you need to. The long edges of your feet are basically parallel to the long edges of the mat. You could bend your elbows a little bit, but eventually you'll try to straighten through them a lot. And the more that you can pull your belly into the spine, the more easy it's going to be to not collapse, crunch into the lower back. So I'm going to press into my fingerprints. We're taking a couple more breaths here. If you need to come out early, you do. One last time, please. And then chin to the chest, releasing all the way down onto the earth. Plant your feet once again underneath the knees. We're going to cross left ankle over right thigh. Toe heel your right foot to the right off the mat. And then just let the knees drop to the left. So this is internal rotation of that right leg. It's stretching out your outside of leg muscle and tendon, the backside glutes. You could just open the arms out like a T or a cactus and maybe look over to the right. Relax the expression in your face. Relax the tongue into your mouth. One more breath here. See if you can really heavy that left foot onto the outside of the right thigh. And then pass it through the center. Bring both feet onto the ground. Other side, please. Right ankle over left thigh. Toe heel the left foot to the left. Drop the knees to the right. And then open the arms. Looking left. Maybe a smile creeps its way onto your face because you're feeling pretty blissed out. All the hard work that you've poured into yourself right now is starting to pay off. It is for me anyway. I hope you too. I don't want to seem selfish. And I think that should about do it. So we'll take our feet back onto the ground. I'm going to pull my knees one more time into the belly. I'll reach out, grab onto the outer blades of my feet with the hands. Happy baby, rock yourself side to side. I double dog dare you to go. Deep inhale through the nose. Flutter out your lips. All right, I'll admit, a little much. All right, knees together. Maybe the forearms wrap around your shins. Forehead squeezes to the knees. Breathe in. Long exhale out. Super great. Legs long. Stretch them out. Feet as wide as the mat. Take your hands by your sides. Palms face up. Push into the elbows. Tuck the shoulder blades together back behind you. And then when you release down, the heart's wide open. Feels good. So if you feel like you've got a lot of extra curve in the lower back, maybe you push into the heels. Tuck the tailbone towards the bottom of the mat. We're not trying to reduce all that lower back curve, just some of it maybe. And then when you're ready, the hands will relax by your sides. Savasana. Allow every inch of your body to relax. Just feel a gentle disruption of your cellular structure. So almost like the wind starts to pull your cells apart. But they don't go far. They just kind of float up, and when they land back down, you're just in a more peaceful state. Perhaps each cell got a small embrace from the universe. Start to wiggle your fingers and toes. Circle the ankles and wrists. Give the back of the head a little rock side to side. And then reaching your arms up and over your head, lock the thumbs, squeeze the biceps around the ears, bring your legs together. Point through the toes, firm the thighs, arch the lower back. Draw your knees in, give yourself another squeeze. And then rock up to a seat. I'm going to come into Sukhasana, easy seat. You sit in a way that allows your spine to be nice and tall. And then just feel your badassery, right? You just slayed it today. That's a beautiful thing. And what are we slaying, right? We're slaying the negativity, the doubts, the obstacles that we perceive. They're like the enemy on a battlefield. And we want to remove them so that we can find our true selves and dwell within our true power. And that's some pretty magical stuff. I'm going to close with an Om. You can feel free to join me. Deep breath in. Bring the palms to press at heart center. Bow the head to the wisdom of the heart. And then drawing the thumbs to the third eye, recognizing and bowing to the divine within us all. Namaste. Thank you, friends, so much for joining me in today's practice. Please reach out if you have any questions, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Namaste.